So in this episode, I'm going to review an article in Fast Company magazine entitled The 25 Best and Worst Trends of the Past 25 Years. Stay tuned.
You are listening to The Leadersmith, Darren Gertis.
Okay, so this article from Fast Company magazine talks about the 25 best and worst trends of the last 25 years. And so Fast Company's been around for about 25 years. They're doing 25, I guess, just to, 25 and 25. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because some of them are very useful to understand how organizations work, how your workplace works, and some of them are politically oriented, and I don't know that we need any more political dissension right now. We need that like we need a hole in the head. So I'm going to skip some of them. So I'm not doing all 25. So I'm going to cover all the best and worst organizational workplace trends. So the first is lack of diversity. Now, we are well aware of diversity. So from 95 until now, there has been a pretty significant move in understanding and being aware of diversity and dealing with diversity issues. By 2005, they say companies slowly started to add chief diversity officers to the C-suite. But nonetheless, there is still a very low percentage of diversity in the higher echelons within organizations, and they lament that and go on about that. But we are moving the right direction. Employees, number two, employees demand flexible schedules. Now, this is a positive trend. The idea of flexibility isn't new, and flexibility is what caused some of the mommy gap in pay, because generally if there is a need for flexibility, it's mom rather than dad who needs that. So making that flexible schedule more normalized or more part of the job is going to alleviate some of that. Remote work becomes a lot more common, and that was thanks to COVID, ironically, that it became so common, where we have Zoom and Google Docs and Teams, and this year really taught us a lot about what we could do at home. So that's a positive trend, and I think after COVID, we're still going to see that there's a spillover effect from what happened during COVID. Workwear gets more casual, and I don't just mean at home, but in the office. You had casual Fridays, and there was like a big shakeup when it first started. But now, I mean, we're just used to that casualness, and even at home, when we're on Zoom, we can tone it down a little bit. We're okay if it doesn't go perfectly. Everybody understands that we're not actually in the office, and a kid could invade at any time or something along those lines. The gender pay gap gets attention, and we're talking about the mommy tax and that kind of thing, so I'm not going to belabor that one. Networking moves online. Well, look, networking meetings like the one that I attend here, or the one that I do the educational pieces for, yeah, we're doing this online. We never would have thought about doing that before, but this has become the way during COVID. So we're branching out online in ways that we've never branched out before, and I think that that's a healthy trend where we're getting to experience more than we otherwise would have. The next one, Me Too, forces the world to pay attention. Okay, whatever was causing Me Too is awful and should not be. Sexual harassment has no place in the workplace, or should have no place in the workplace. So it's positive that we're exposing it, casting light on it, and saying, no, don't do this. Next, benefits get a makeover. So benefits have been pretty standard for some time, but in recent years, we've started to see things like unlimited vacation. We've seen crazy kinds of things like student loan repayment, pay for in vitro fertilization, all kinds of things, because to attract better people, some major organizations have upgraded their benefits. Next, a new generation embraces the labor movement. They're applauding how the younger generation workers has surpassed all other demographics and rates of new union membership. Now, there's a reason for that, because these workers come into an economy where they're getting gig work, and gig work doesn't pay. And so when you're not giving full-time benefits like you otherwise would, yeah, they unionize to protect against that. So that's what's going on. As they grow into it, it'll probably dissipate, but that's just my perception of this. Okay, moving along. Oh, and they even gave a little caveat in here. It's interesting. Fast disclosure: Fast Company edit staff is represented by the Writers Guild East. So yeah, they are all right. They're unionized and they appreciate unions. Next, the taboo around mental health starts to lift, and that this is a positive thing, right? Dealing with people and helping people get the help that they need is always going to be positive. Communication got a lot easier. Roll back the clock to 1995, email was just starting to become a normal thing. It was only a few years before that when people started really using email. But now you got email, Trello, Basecamp, Google Docs, Slack, all kinds of things. And what's interesting is when a word becomes a verb, like, so I don't use Google, I Google. I don't use Zoom, I Zoom. I mean, that's how our communication is affected now. Hierarchy started to break down. So leadership is distributed and needs to be distributed with an organization. We're not just looking at one great leader at the top. We're looking at leaders at all levels, a cascade of leaders, and that transparency that comes with that. Next, companies started to rethink the annual review. We stopped doing this one year annual review in many companies, at least. We stopped just doing it one time a year and doing it at least quarterly, and preferably even more than that, so that you're keeping up with what your people are doing. If you're doing that, you're staying on top of what's going on. Okay, so that's the best. Here's the worst. Work life got out of balance. So we went from thinking that we're going to have work-life balance, work here and home there, and we're going to finally get balance, to integration, where now we're on call all the time. We're on our phones all the time, and we can't seem to ever achieve work-life balance. So that becomes a problem. Interview questions got quirky, like how many scoops or how many dump trucks would it take to move the moon, or that kind of thing. I don't know that was useful. Perks got cool. So in some organizations, think like Google, ping pong tables and team building trips and ropes courses and arcade games at work were there to try to keep your attention always at work and staying at work. It's not necessarily the greatest trend because it keeps you out of work-life balance in a real sense, but okay. Next, gig work, and I talked about this before. Gig work robbed workers of protections. That is, new college graduates roll out into the economy, and all they could really find was gig work, freelance kind of work. And so you'd have things like New York, which they're praising New York for passing the Freelance Isn't Free Act, and California passed AB 5, which forces the employer to reclassify freelancers who work 40 hours. But what that's going to do is cause them to give them only 39 hours, so they're worse off than they otherwise would have been if you let them work longer. At any rate, I'm going to leave that alone. Everyone becomes a brand. This is a organizational issue that we all need to focus on. Tom Peters created a essay in 1997, The Brand Called You. And with social media, we've all had to kind of almost become our own brands in order to function. And it's draining, it's a lot of work, and it causes us to have to operate in very different ways. Next, Silicon Valley tries to hack everything, and they give a number of examples. The Pomodoro method, batching techniques, mind-clearing vacations, intermittent fastings. Have you tried the dopamine fast? And so all these hacks, yeah, this great line in here, they all share one thing: making you totally insufferable at parties. Finally, there's two more, I think. Three more. The rise of bro culture. The old boys club has become this kind of hoodie, techie, bro, what's up, bro, kind of culture. Brogrammer culture. I don't know that that's very helpful either. Private space in offices disappeared from offices to cubicles, and that's not good. That's being efficient by not taking care of your people and trying to, I don't know that that's very good either. And then finally, companies started spying on their employees, and they have the technical resources to be able to actually spy on employees. So never think that you have any privacy. If it's from your organization, they have every right to look at it, and they have to do that in order to make sure that you're not doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Now, they shouldn't be inspecting all the time, but if they have the ability to inspect at any time. So just be aware of that. Okay, so those are the best and the worst trends of the last 25 years. And as I was going through this, most of them, all the ones that dealt with organizational issues were really on point. They added a bunch of other ones because of their biases, which may or may not be good. But this made me think of, and this is my quotation for contemplation for today. The leadership quote comes from Henry V. Proshno, who said, company policy, this is just company policy. Company policy means there's no understandable reason for this action. And I thought there's a lot of companies that have those kind of company policies. Okay, that's all that I have for today. Thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll talk to you next time.